Hey, what's up out there? So we're starting a new series today, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what we're actually gonna call this thing. But you've all heard of Dancing with the Stars. Well, this is gonna be estate planning with the stars, or something like that. We're gonna highlight and we're going to talk about different estate planning situations that involve celebrities, people that most of us know. And so today we're gonna talk about one of my favorite artists growing up. We're gonna talk about Prince. When I was growing up, I couldn't get enough of Prince, whether it was When Doves Cry or Purple Rain. Prince was one of my favorite artists when I was growing up. But like many of Americans, what we found out since the 3 years from his death, we found out that he was just as human as any of us. Because like most of Americans, 50% of Americans for that matter, died without a will, and Prince died without a will. What was unique about Prince's situation is that his estate was worth $300 million. And so that's a lot of money to just kind of be leaving it out there and having chance or the state law dictate what's going to happen with, his estate. And so, Prince's situation was really, really crazy. He had hundreds of people that came forward and, tried to claim, to be family members, long lost cousins, or even children of his. But ultimately what ended up happening was they were able to do DNA testing and they were able to whittle it down to basically his 6 siblings as the only individuals who would have a right to his estate. They would become lawful heirs. But here's the situation with Prince's estate. It was basically a situation where there were administrators that have cost the estate $45 million because they've had to do a lot just to be able to get the estate to where it is now. And the estate is nowhere near being settled. There have been lawyer fees to the tune of about $10 million with his estate. Now, the crazy thing about it is because of the value of his estate, Prince's estate is going to be taxed at a tax bill of 40% to the federal government. And he was living in Minnesota at the time. And so Minnesota is going to tax his estate 16%. And so altogether, when it's all said and done, that $300 million is going to be reduced by the amount spent by the administrators and the lawyers. But in addition to that, there's going to be a tax of 56% of his estate, all because he died without a will. Now, Prince was very private about his home. Paisley Park was the name of his home. And even though he was private while he was in life, now that the tax bill is going to be so much, his home has been opened basically into a museum to be able to cover the tax bill that he has for his estate. He had past troubles as far as ownership of his music and the distribution of his music. He wanted to control those things. But in death, those things are basically out in the open. All of the different streaming services now have access to his music, which was not what he intended. But because he didn't do a will, he wasn't able to dictate what was going to happen to his estate. And so you may be thinking to yourselves, wow, I don't have a $300 million estate. So why would I need to do estate planning? But the bottom line is that even if you have $300 million or if you have $300, you have an estate, you have assets that belong to you. And the reality is that you want to make sure that you can dictate what happens to those assets. So that's it for right now. If you have any questions about Prince's situation, or let's say in the future you want us to talk about another celebrity, or you just have an estate planning question that you'd like us to answer, why don't you just go ahead in the comments below? Why don't you just go ahead and submit your question there? Or you can go to our social media sites. We'll also put the links in the description below to our social media platforms, and you can leave your questions or submit your celebrity who you would want us to talk about next. Okay, till next time, we'll see you soon.